Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shining Light video podcast show, where I shine a light on my guest and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. Today, I have a wonderful guest who's been on my podcast, The Michael Esposito Show. She's also been on the Shining Light before. You might have caught her live, and she's on again. And it's because she has such an important message to share with all of you. You've all created such great posts and different things on your website, this IP and all of this stuff needs to be protected. And so Elisa is going to be sharing how you can protect all of that and how her team at Purple Fox is working with you and for you. Before I jump over to you, I just want to share with everybody who's watching right now that I'm wearing Forgotten Children of Haiti's t-shirt today. And that's because on May 15th, I'm doing a 72-hour fast in order to raise awareness for the people in Haiti and also in order to raise money to help the agricultural program in Haiti. So I'm not eating so that hopefully we can feed some people who need some food in Haiti. And you can learn more just by visiting my website, which is, if you found us on somewhere on the socials, it's embedded in my About Me page. So enough about me and about Forgotten Children of Haiti. Let's learn about Purple Fox Legal. Elisa, tell us more about your organization and how you're helping people copyright their IPs.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I created Purple Fox Legal, and I had this idea, and I didn't really want it to be a law firm because law firm has a little bit of a negative connotation, but I wanted it to be have a little bit more of a collaborative approach, with clients. And my goal is to increase the value of clients' assets and mitigate risk. And part of that is the intellectual property piece. So, and that includes trademarks, copyrights, publicity rights, and things like that. And lately, we've been hearing a lot about AI, and AI is very, very beneficial. I use AI in various ways as well, but it's really important to understand the risk of using AI in certain contexts. So, for example, when you are using AI, it's important to kind of think about how those data sets, how AI is collected data from the internet to kind of to create a data set, and then when a user enters a prompt, right, then you generate a result. Well, like the copyright is transferring, right? It's transferring. It's created by the author, then it's copied into the AI database, and then it's used to create an output. So that's a derivative work. So we have a little bit of an infringement issue going on. And this really isn't just with copyright, it's also with publicity rights as well, which I think is underscored in media because, we've seen recent examples with, for example, Taylor Swift and also Tom Hanks with some AI created, basically, images created by AI that basically they did not authorize, essentially. Yeah.
When we're looking at AI and how it works, in your understanding of it, at least in my understanding of it, I mean to say, it's these programs that are set up to scrape the internet of information and then reuse it as new information, I suppose. And so, if I understand correctly of what you do, it's to protect that information that someone's putting on their website or in their blog. It's to protect it so that if it is reused, they get credit for it. Is that accurate?
Partially. So the Copyright Act does allow authors to maintain the right for attribution, but that isn't the only kind of right that they have. There's 6 really exclusive rights to to the Copyright Act and to any kind of copyright owner. But part of that is just to make a copy. Well, just by copying something from the internet, putting it into this database, this AI database, well, that in and of itself really arguably is infringement. And the kind of main case to watch on this issue is the New York Times case against OpenAI. That is kind of the case that the legal industry is watching to kind of see, how we're going to develop this framework, because the AI industry right now is just kind of the wild west, and we have a lot of work to do to basically balance the interest of all the different stakeholders involved. And it's not going to happen overnight, of course, but in the meantime, we do have set laws and frameworks to work from. And copying another's work without permission is copyright infringement. That's we have already established that with hundreds of years of precedent.
Mm. So tell us why you got into this business. For all of those watching right now and listening, this topic is obviously very important. We have a lot of creatives out there who are watching and listening, and so therefore it's important to protect their information. I think we're also interested into why is this important to you and why did you decide to choose this field?
I think it's a couple of different reasons that I chose this particular field. Um, One is that it's just very interesting. It's one of the more interesting areas of law. Usually when people start to talk about legal topics, people's eyes glaze over a little bit. But when you're talking about trademarks and copyrights, that you don't get the exact same kind of uh, reaction. It's a little, you get a little bit more interest, but also I think it's really important for us to understand and appreciate our differences and diversity, and also to credit people, their work that they've contributed. And truly, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people take credit for work that they did not do, which is essentially what intellectual property infringement is. But it's just very important to me that we're respecting. It's part of like a respect. I think
Mm.
we're respecting individuals, we're respecting each other on a variety of different levels, and I think this also plays into the really big legal news yesterday with the FTC finalizing a rule that bans non-competes. And I actually, read that, and I was happy about it. But for me, that doesn't really make a whole lot of difference in how I protect my clients, because I usually don't recommend for them to use non-competes, because non-competes don't really, they protect more than what they should. And there are more strategic ways to protect intellectual property and to protect employees from misusing company information than non-competes, because non-competes just basically prevent people from earning a living in addition to all those other things. So by getting rid of the non-competes and basically allowing the only solution to be the more strategic routes that focus on protecting what needs to be protected, then I think that's a good thing for this country.
That's cool. I didn't know that law was passed, and it's very interesting for me because from my insurance side of the business, that's something that we see all the time is the non-competes. So this law has been recently passed, and is that nationwide or is that state
So
specific?
yeah, it was the Federal Trade Commission. They finalized a rule yesterday that essentially banned non-competes. I don't recall exactly when the effective date will be, but it will be retroactive, and it will apply to most, if not all, non-competes for any nonprofit, or I'm sorry, not a nonprofit, for-profit business.
Gotcha, gotcha. Sounds good. Sounds good. So part of what you do is you're dealing with I suppose, the end result of some sort of copyright infringement or some sort of IP infringement. What are some of your tips or strategies that a business owner can put in place in order to protect themselves from something like this happening to them, or from them perhaps being on the other side of this case?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things I think is to make sure that they actually own the intellectual property. Um, that is something I see, not exactly done in the best way possible sometimes. So for example, people will, often want a website, and usually they don't do it themselves. They'll hire that out, understandably, because it's complicated and difficult. But in that contract, there needs to be a work for hire clause that basically says, hey, I'm hiring so and so agency to develop this website, but I own the copyright.
Mm.
If that agreement does not say that, then you don't own the copyright.
Mm.
Like, it doesn't matter whether you hire a photographer to take your headshot. Just because you pay them does not mean you own the copyright to that.
Right.
You have to have that language in the contract. So that's an important tip. And then kind of the same thing, again, going back to the employee agreement. So having a work for hire clause in the employee agreement. Okay, if an employee creates something, you know, in the scope of employment, that is a copyright that's owned by the business. And then kind of depending on what the business is, they might also consider registering those copyrights because you have to have a registration certificate from the U.S. Copyright Office to actually enforce your rights
Mm.
in the United States. So that's also something to consider. But you certainly wouldn't want to do that for every single copyright. Just, kind of be more strategic about that and prioritize which ones are the most important.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we've learned a lot about copyright and protecting our IPs, our intellectual property. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. The last time you were on, and I have to apologize that unfortunately I wasn't able to promote it as much as I could, but the last time you were on, you were hosting a webinar, and I'm interested, are you hosting more webinars? I know that you do this pretty frequently. Do you have one coming up?
I do actually.
Awesome.
Next month, I'm going to be co-hosting a workshop about the role of human resources in business succession planning. So I'm co-hosting that with Zach Consulting Group, and we'll be workshopping that with entrepreneurs who have full-time employees to work on that human resources section of their business succession plan.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. And Zach has also been on the Shining Light. I had both of those ladies on, and it was a really great interview as well. So if anybody wants to partake in that webinar, you can go back in time and meet the women from Zach HR,
Yes.
and Alyssa now, and so you'll kind of get a little preview as to what that webinar will bring to you. We'll of course have all of the links in the comments below. So just have your person tag all of that, Alyssa. And now we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube. It's just really cool how the show is expanding. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I want to thank all of you for watching the Shining Light video podcast show. We're coming to you live every Thursday at 1 o'clock with awesome people just like you, Alyssa. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.